Welcome back to the CCA Alliance podcast. In today's episode, we will discuss the boys and girls varsity basketball teams. Both teams played in tournaments back in December, so today we will go over the results, stats, and analysis of those games. First, we'll go ahead and start with the girls varsity team. The girls are coached by Carrie Hensley, who is in her first season as the girls basketball coach. However, she also coaches the girls volleyball team here at Calgary, and she's done that for the last 4 seasons. So the first set of games that the girls played was back on December 10th and 11th at the Greenwood Tip-Off Tournament at Greenwood Mennonite School. The first game on Friday, Calvary played against Holly Grove, and in that first game, they lost to them 31-10. As a coach, one of the things that I like to do, I think it's very important, even in losses, you're able to look at the positives as well as look at things you can learn from. So a couple of the positives of that game was that the girls held Holly Grove to just 4 points in the second quarter and had some great defense in that quarter. They also had 14 total steals, which is the most that they had in their first 4 games this season. So defensively, they did well. I think offensively, in being their first game, that was something that they had to get used to. But Saturday, the 11th, when they played Greenwood, they ended up losing that game 38-18. However, I would say from an outside perspective, they looked a lot better offensively. They looked a lot more comfortable, and I think they just needed that one game under their belt to kind of get used to the going from practice speed to game speed. So in the game against Greenwood, a couple positives to pull from there is that, again, they had a pretty good defensive performance being in the fourth quarter. They held Greenwood to 2 points, which to hold Greenwood, any Greenwood team, to that little amount of points is very impressive. Also in that game, they had 51 total rebounds, which is an insane amount of rebounds. They had 18 offensive and 33 defensive rebounds. And when you look at Calvary's team and Greenwood's team, Greenwood is in size differential a lot smaller than Calvary. And so that definitely helped in the rebounds. But watching the game, the Calvary girls, they definitely did a great job putting themselves in position to be able to get those rebounds. So 51 total rebounds. They also had 10 steals. So again, 2 games in a row where they have double-digit steals is pretty impressive. And our leading rebounder from that game was Madeline Hensley, who is a junior. She had 13 rebounds in the game. And so that was the first 2 games of the season, the Greenwood Tip-Off Tournament. Not exactly the way that the team wanted to start, but I think that there was a lot of positives to take from it. And be able to get those games on their belt. And in a little bit, I will go back and just discuss these games and kind of give a little bit of more of an analysis on those. So the second set of games that the girls played was the following week on the 17th and the 18th. They played in the Tome Christmas Classic. So on Friday, they traveled to Tome and took on Greenwood again. And this game, final score, Greenwood won that game 55-23. Again, Calvary had 51 rebounds, same exact stats, 18 offensive, 33 defensive. So again, really good at rebounding. And another really good team stat was they had 9 assists on 11 made field goals. So really, for me, that shows that they did a good job in passing the ball a little bit more. And just shows that they're a little bit more comfortable on their offense. In that game, to help get 51 rebounds, Leanna Masseuse, who is a senior on our team, she had 19 of those rebounds, which is insane. She also had 9 points, shot 4 for 8, and also had 3 blocks in that game as well. So then on Saturday, because of the loss against Greenwood on Saturday, our girls played Open Bible for the third place trophy. And so they ended up winning that game 29-25. So first win of the season, which is always a good thing to get, kind of take the pressure off of you. A couple stats from that game. The team outscored Open Bible 7-0 in the first quarter, which definitely was the catalyst to help them get this win. They had 36 rebounds, 18 offensive, 18 defensive. And so for 3 games in a row now, the girls had 18 offensive rebounds, which offensive rebounds are very hard to get. And so the girls did a great job in 3 straight games to get those offensive rebounds. They also had 12 steals and 8 blocks. So defensively, the team was very, very good. And one person that really stuck out in this game, again, Leanna Masseuse. She had 13 points, 14 rebounds, and 4 blocks. So that is a double-double, 13 points and 14 rebounds. And that is the third of her career and the first for our girls this season. And so those were the games that the girls played in December, the first 4 games of the season. Just some stats, points per game, rebounds, stuff like that. So in those 4 games, leader in points per game is Leanna Masseuse with 6.3. Rebounds per game, also Leanna with 40 total rebounds. So she's been averaging 10. And then Lexi Gillespie, who is another senior, had 7.5 rebounds per game. Our leader in assists is Lexi Gillespie with 7. Our steals leader is Kate Malinke, who is an 8th grader. And in 3 games that she played in, she got 7 steals. Leanna Masseuse has 10 total blocks in the first 4 games. And then another stat that I saw that is really good is another one of our seniors, Kaylee Young, shot from the free throw line 6 for 7, which is 86%. That's leading our team currently in free throw percentage. And so just an analysis for me. So I do the stats for the boys and the girls basketball teams. And so kind of from a outsider perspective, watching them, like I said, I think that the first couple games, they were just trying to figure out what they, what their team was like and the offense. And that makes sense because I think that there is a lack of continuity on the team. And so what I mean by that is, unfortunately for us and the girls team, we've had 5 different coaches in the last 5 seasons. And as a coach, one of the things that I found very quickly my first season coaching the soccer team, the boys soccer team, was that you have a culture in mind that you want to bring, but it generally doesn't happen immediately. And so I've coached now for 3 years, and really I'm kind of still putting the foundation of the culture that I want in. And so having, I'm sure all the coaches who have coached the girls teams, coming in for one season and trying to bring in the way they want to play offensively and defensively, that's tough. And then also with the girls who have been playing, that's tough to have different coaches every year. But hopefully that will change in the future for us, and we'll be able to stick with one coach for a couple of years. I think also when we look at the roster, not a lot of people look at this, but again, not something that I think is extremely important. When we look back to last year's roster to this year's roster, we have 6 returners and we have 7 new players. And so over half of our team is brand new. And of those 7 players, we do have a mix of experience. We have some older players who have played basketball before and some younger players who haven't. And so it's kind of right now, I think they're trying to figure out how to play together. And also the other thing is just figuring out what the coach expects. So obviously offensively, there is a different mindset than what they played last year. And so sometimes that can take a little bit of time to adjust to. But I do think that the team improved every game. Every single game, they scored more points than they did in the last game, which is always a good thing to do. They also looked a lot more comfortable. One thing also is they haven't played a game at full strength yet. So they've had some injuries, had some players out. So they haven't even played a game at full strength yet. So hopefully starting this week in their first game of 2022, they will be at full strength, and that'll help them a lot. And then lastly, just an insane stat. In those 4 games, the girls are averaging 41.3 rebounds a game and 10.5 steals, which is definitely a huge plus that they can continue to build on. All right, so that is it for the girls. I'm going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will discuss the boys' games of the season. All right, welcome back. Next, we're going to talk about the boys' varsity team. So the boys are coached by Dwayne Lapp, who is in his 6th season as the boys' basketball coach. So the first game of the season was at the Greenwood Tip-Off Tournament against Holly Grove. The boys ended up losing that game 40-33. However, it was very close the entire time until right at the very end when Holly Grove was able to create some separation. But in that game, the boys had 32 rebounds, 13 offensive and 19 defensive. And Nate Kaufman, who is a senior on the team, ended with 13 rebounds. The team also had 9 total steals. So defensively in that first game, there was some positives and things really that they could build on. Evans Armintrading was the leading scorer in that game. He had 19 points. He also had 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 steals. So the next day on Saturday, December 11th, the boys played Greenwood and lost that game 62-43. But again, some positives to pull from that game. The team had 6 steals and 5 blocks. And Evans Armintrading, who is a junior on the team, ended the game with 23 points on 10 for 19 shooting. And that is his first career game where he has scored 20 plus points. And so the first 2 games of the season, again, like the girls, not exactly the way that the boys wanted to start off the season. But when you look at it, there are a lot of positives to pull from, and I'll get more into the analysis of those games in just a second. So in the following week at the Tome Christmas Classic on Friday, the boys played Greenwood, and again, they lost 66-35. In that game, Evans Armintrading had 19 points. And then the following day, on Saturday, the team played against Providence in the 3rd place game, and they lost that game 54-36. Some positive take from that game was that they outscored Providence 15-6 in the 3rd quarter, and kind of made it a little bit more of a game. And then Evans Armintrading and Matthew Wyatt is another junior on the team. They both had double-digit points scored. So Evans had 15 and Matthew had 12. And so that is the first game this season where we have had 2 players in double digits. So that's always good to see. And so in the first 4 games, our stat leaders for the season. So in points per game, Evans Armintrading is leading the team with 19 points per game. Nate Kaufman is leading the team with 8.3 rebounds per game. Cole Manuzak, who is a senior, is leading the team with 2 assists per game. And then Evans is leading the team with 3.5 steals. And Evans and Nate are tied with 1 block per game each. So a little bit of analysis on these first 4 games. Boys started out 0-4, but I think that their record is not exactly indicative of the type of season they're going to have and the type of team that they are. So again, kind of like with the girls, I think there is a lack of continuity. And really the boys, I think one thing that they're trying to do is find their identity. So again, looking at the roster from last year, going to this year, they have 4 returners and 8 new players. So really that is something where finding identity is extremely important. Of those 4 returners, they didn't get a ton of playing time last year. And so they, going into the season, it really is like a brand new team. And so obviously it's going to take some time for them to gel and be able to play together and do that well. However, I would say that this is a very athletic team with a lot of upside when they do eventually find their identity and start to play really well and start to click. I think that there was positives and flashes of really good play during those first 4 games. I think that the lack of continuity was what really affected the team. And unfortunately not being able to pull out a win. However, I know that the team and Coach Lapp is definitely ready for the next couple games to start, and also for our league schedule to start. And so it is very exciting as we get to the game starting this upcoming week. And so I'm going to take another quick break. And when I come back, I'm going to talk about what to expect in this next week. All right, welcome back. So now that the holidays are behind us and 2022 is here, I think that both the boys and the girls team are excited for kind of a clean slate as we go into these next couple of games. So first, before I give you this week's schedule for basketball, I do want to tell you or really spotlight two players on our boys and girls teams who I'll probably be talking about a lot on this podcast and the updates that I'm going to be giving weekly for the basketball teams, but also for you to watch. And so the first one for the girls is Leanna Masseuse, who is a senior. Currently, she's committed to play at Wilmington University after she graduates high school. And she'll be coached by Carrie Jenkins, who currently is a teacher at Calvary Christian Academy. For her, she started off the season a little bit slow, and I know that for her that was a little bit frustrating. However, in the last two games of the season, so in the two games in the Tone Christmas Classic against Greenwood and against Open Bible, she averaged 11 points per game, 16 and a half rebounds per game, 3.5 blocks, and she got that double-double, which was her first of the season. And so I think that those numbers that she averaged in those last two are really what we're going to see from her the rest of the season. I think that's what she's capable of doing, and I think that she is even more capable of doing even more than what she has shown us thus far. And so that is definitely a person to be watching on the girls' side. And then for the boys, Evans Armament Trading, who is a junior, one stat that is really cool, that I find really cool, and something to watch, is before the season started, he was 17th all time on the Calvary boys scoring list with 181 total points. After just 4 games, he's now up to 11th all time with 257 total points. And currently, if he stays on the pace that he is, so currently he is scoring 19 points per game. If he stays on that pace, he could move up to 3rd place by the end of the season. And he's only a junior, so realistically, looking at our all-time list in points, total points scored, realistically, he could be Calvary's all-time leading scorer before he graduates, which is really exciting. And so those are two players that I wanted to spotlight. And then upcoming this week, so basketball or school starts back up on Tuesday, and the practices will start back up. And then for games, the boys and the girls' first game is going to be this Thursday, January 6th. It'll be at home, so it'll be our first home game of the season, and it's going to be against Salisbury Christian, which is going to be a non-conference game. And so I always enjoy, as a coach, starting off the season with a non-conference game. It just gives you kind of takes that pressure off. It's not a conference game. It's not like you have to win it. It's going to really affect your conference record. However, I know that the boys and the girls are both highly motivated to come into 2022 and start off how they want to, and that's with a win. And looking at the Salisbury Christian team, both sides, I think this is going to be a very competitive game for the boys and the girls, and I'm very excited to watch it. So those games are going to be, again, this Thursday, January 6th. The girls will play at 4 p.m., the boys will play at 5:30 p.m., and that will be at Calvary Community Center in the gym. And so if you're able to come to that, it's going to be a great game. So thank you for listening to this episode. Again, like I said in the introduction, it is my hope to put out a weekly update. So this weekend, I will put out a short update and just talk about this upcoming game against Salisbury Christian, and then also give you the schedule for the following week. So again, thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day.